Hi, this is Takasi, Friday, June 19th. It's about 9:28 a.m. or 9:29 a.m. I'm at Wyandotte Park in Mountain View, California. It's really nice today. Let me give you an overall. See, it's really nice. Again, it's me at the park by myself. I guess because of the cloudy, people aren't out, but I actually find it's a very beautiful day today. I went and I bought some wheat loaf of bread from Midwife Bakery. Here it is. I'll show you a picture. And I had to break it open, the loaf. I bought a cup of coffee, and I had to it really was difficult for me to break open this bread and to break off a piece, but had that with coffee, so that was delicious. So it's really nice here, really beautiful. See the sky, the patches of blue and the clouds is really beautiful. Back to me. So yesterday night, I signed up to do laundry at the shelter, and they didn't have any space except for 12 midnight last night. So I went and I set my alarm for 11:30 p.m. and then 11:15, and then I woke up, and then I went in and did my load of laundry, and then after that I couldn't go to sleep. So I was just listening to some YouTube videos, which were from Source, or whatever you want to call it, Sourceism, God, star seeds. So I was listening to some, and actually I was listening, and then I fell asleep, and then I woke up and I listened. But I just kind of came to a realization afterward for myself, and I'm telling you this, and I know how it sounds from a YouTube video, duh, you believe something from a YouTube video. Yes, I do believe it. You can look me in the face, I do believe it. But what I was told was, conveyed in the things, that I am this multidimensional divine being, I guess, that has incarnated many times. And actually, what I was conveyed to me is that I've been to other dimensions, galaxies, whatever, and monitored planets to see for dissonance, to help prevent that dissonance or the destruction of those planets, of those civilizations. That's what I did. And I had all this power and knowingness, and then again conveyed that I chose to come to this assignment. And one of the requirements for this assignment is that I had to have my memories removed, that I had to forget, come here without knowing who I am, live this experience in this human vessel, because then I could fully integrate and slowly I would get my knowingness, and which has always been in me, but I just forgot who I was, as so many others, as the rest of humanity has forgotten that they're divine beings. But I have forgotten it, and the reason why I had to forget it is that I had to be fully in this reality, in this human vessel, and live as a human being, and feel as human beings do, react or respond as human beings, and actually, so that I could feel compassion, empathy, I guess, for the people living here. Even though reality, we're all divine souls, we're all connected, we're all ism, we're all one. Even with the trees and the plants, we're all one. All life is just one. But that was the reason why, and then it mentioned the 144,000, but I guess the 144,000 were volunteers like me, that all chose to come here, and all chose to forget who they were, so that they could fully integrate into this human existence in a human vessel. And it's supposed to come awake, because I guess me and each of us, 144,000, we carry a frequency. Each of us individually carry a frequency, and only when we are together and we all, I guess, release our frequencies at the same time, like we all become awake to who we are, then that frequency will help the world of reality to show what it really is, and to bring people back to like remember that they actually are divine souls, right? Well, that's the gist of it, of what I got. And for me, I just kind of want to, all my life, because I grew up in a Christian household, I always felt like I had a calling from God, but because nobody, and I always tried, I guess from a young age, I always tried to live a life of honesty and truth. But I did like blackmail my sister Loma in like elementary for like blackmail her to give me free pickles when her 5th grade class sold pickles. I blackmailed her like when she was helping distribute like lunch or in the cafeteria. I blackmailed her to give more portions of food to me and my friends. And I blackmailed her to give me money for candy when I knew she had a crush on some boys, because I knew that would like drive my mother crazy. So I blackmailed her, saying, Loma, if you don't give me that, I'm gonna tell Mom that you've been talking to that guy over there, whatever, right? So I had my evil, sadistic side, manipulative side, and also like college when I also in college when I lied about history class and said, oh, I turned in that history report, when in reality I didn't. I just wanted to try it because I'd never done anything bad like that. And I just wanted to give it a try. And lo and behold, the professor took it, and, he accepted that I had turned it in and got lost. So I didn't have to do that report. And I don't remember it. I notice that when people get older, they forget the negative, bad things, and like when they look back, it's like they're looking with rose-colored glasses, so they don't remember the actual harm of their destructive behavior. So I don't remember, honestly, but maybe I cheated, but honestly, I don't think like I would have had the courage to like cheat, because I would have been afraid like the teacher would look and catch me. But possibly I could have cheated. But definitely, like, I've tempted from a young age to live a life of honesty and truth, and what I believe was right, like about what God said was right, like my belief, not necessarily what the Bible said, but what I came to realization was my truth. So I always felt like I had a calling, and my family was quite aware of it. My friends, because I was always talk about God and the purpose and everything. And then, my family and friends kind of gave me, well, Doa, you think too much. And my sister Fulada, and they're like, that's your problem, Doa. You think too much about the world. You worry too much about others. Just worry about yourself, Doa. That's all you need to do. That's why you're so sick and whatever. Like my sister Eunice, she said to me, because you're always asking these questions and talking lies and whatever. That's why you're ill with lupus. You wouldn't have gotten lupus. It's because that's how, you're so nosy and you talk back to Mom and you cause Mom a lot of pain. That's why you're the way you are. And to me, it was like, I wasn't talking back. I was just trying to find out the truth. And it's not like I said, F you or whatever. Like, I was just asking questions about things that didn't make sense to me. And I was asking the people in my life who were the closest to me, my family. And they took it as talking back. They took that as a negative aspect. But I was just trying to understand the world. As a child, you try to understand the world. And when you're told one thing, especially like with Christianity, reading the Bible and you're told one thing, and, and then you see the adults, especially those people that are going to church, especially those people that have positions, and they're doing the opposite of what you're told, what you read in the Bible, and what you're told you're supposed to do. It's like, why are they allowed to do that? And like, don't they, So I always felt like I had a calling, but nobody ever told me. Like I was also waiting like to get a dream or have an angel or something tell me like, Doa, you have a calling. I never got that. I never got that confirmation. Nobody in my family ever said like, Thoa, you have a calling, just continue. Nobody ever said that to me. Uh, Even my friends, nobody ever said that to me. And maybe they weren't aware, but like I always felt that I had a calling. And then as time got on, I noticed like me being the way I was, truthful and honest, didn't exactly get me what I wanted out of life. And so I guess unintentionally, I unintentionally like didn't choose to speak my truth, just kept it hidden. But was still speaking it, but I was conveying it in like gentler terms, going around the bush to say what I really wanted to say, just so that it wouldn't hurt people's feelings or they wouldn't misunderstand me. And I guess I was dimming myself unintentionally, because I guess I wanted to be in people's presence. I wanted to be accepted. So I was dimming myself. And then when I started to like, I got to a point like I just couldn't deal with the falsity, especially my family, my friends. Like when you could see really what they were feeling, their jealousy, their envy, and they refuse to admit to it, which is like, what's the harm? Everybody feels jealousy and envy, right? That's natural. We're human beings. Everybody feels those emotions, right? But when you hide it and no, that's not me. You got it right. It's like, so yeah, I got tired of it. And then I started speaking out more my truth and not really caring like wondering about how it would affect people. I was just speaking my truth. But never, at no time did I ever scream it at them or yell it at them or like speak profanity. I was just speaking my truth. And then they would be like, this is not the Thoa we know. Where's the Thoa we know? Meaning the Thoa that was quiet and would say it in the gentlest terms and would walk around the bushes, go around the block several times to convey what could have been conveyed in one or two sentences. I was just very sensitive to their needs, and I just got to the point that I was just tired of it. I just wanted to be myself. And I was also noticing as I got older, like now probably like in my 40s, that like me living a life of truth and honesty. And what's funny is that in my family, they always talked about how they believed in God. They believed in God and truth and whatever. But when it actually came to things that mattered, they're like lying. They were hiding. They didn't want to speak the truth because it'd make things uncomfortable. Why do you need to speak about stuff which just didn't make any sense to me? And what I kept thinking was, that's why the world doesn't change, because people just keep giving that rationale, well, it's not going to change anything. That's why like horrible things keep happening in the world, because people don't want to face them. They just want to like hide and just say, well, not now, later, whatever. There's never a right time. It's when it happens, that's when you address it, not a month later, or let's gather people, let's make a conference and talk about it. Oh, it's a complicated thing, so let's get how many people? Okay, we're gonna have how many teams? It's like, no, when it happens and you're aware of it, that's the time that you need to speak about it, right? But no, my family didn't want to do that. And I just got to the point that I was just like, I just slowly started just being more of myself and not caring, and just speaking my truth, which I guess to my family members, it felt like I was very controlling, because I was just point out blank telling them what they were doing wrong, really. For my nieces and nephews, I was point out, like I could see how they thought I was dictatorial and aggressive and like controlling. And I wasn't telling them how to behave. I was just completely pointing out what they were doing wrong. I wasn't holding any, no holds barred or whatever. I was just completely telling people what they were doing wrong, like telling my family, my brothers, you guys are just being negative. When people come, I was just being completely honest with them, and they didn't like it. They thought, oh, you're too bossy. Oh, you can't talk about my life. It's like, Hello, I can talk about you. Everybody has the right to say what they want. And my thing is like, if I'm telling a lie, then yes, they should get pissed off or whatever. But if I'm telling the truth, what are they getting pissed off at? It's the truth. So that's kind of me. Like, do you get why people get pissed off at me? Because I feel like when you speak truth, why get pissed off? It's the truth. How can you fight against the truth? But yeah, people don't like that about me. But yeah, so then I just like slowly just being me, even though it irritated the heck out of people, and meeting people like relatives that are Tongan community coming to visit my sister Melon when she was close to death, and they would meet me, and I would just be talking very honestly, and they would laugh and like say, oh, she's whatever. I know they were probably thinking, she's crazy. Why is she speaking like this? Is this appropriate when her sister's about to die to speak so bluntly? And I was like, hey, it's like my sister Melon. Like, I love her dearly. She's the only sister that like actually listened to me, even though a lot of times she didn't understand what the heck I was doing. But a lot of times when I would wake up with these strange dreams. Honestly, like the last 2 years, I haven't dreamed, even though I know we're told we dream every night, we just don't remember it, right? When I REM sleep, we have multiple dreams. Honestly, the last 3 years, I haven't had any dreams. I don't remember anything. But I was also during the YouTube, they said that, when we sleep, we would get communication. Honestly, I haven't got any communication, or maybe unbeknownst to me, because I haven't had any dreams. But anyway, my sister Meller, I would have these dreams, and she's the only one, and I would be either in Utah or Bellingham or in California, and I would wake up like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I would call her and say, Melly, I had this dream, and she wouldn't get mad at me, never ever. She would like pick up the phone and then kind of come to be awake and then listen to me, and then I would explain my dream. And then there used to be a Tongan elderly lady in Vancouver that used to interpret my dreams. So then my sister would call her later and ask her to interpret, and then my sister would later call me a day or two later and tell me the interpretation of my dream. So I loved my sister Melly, but like, what I noticed and I think it pissed off some people, is that I said like, she was close to deathbed, and when I would want to talk about certain things, she wouldn't want to talk or anything. And I would tell her, are you afraid? Don't be afraid, because when you die, you'll be received with love and everything. But I know she was fearful about death. But it was funny because she would be quiet, whatever, but then she would have her friends come over. This was like the last 2 weeks of her life, I think. She would have her friends come over, that she went to school with, and some relative too, and then they would get together, and they would like, then my sister would like be all alive and like lively, and they would be talking about like gossiping about like sexual gossiping about the sexual nature of like their friends or people they know, and like really like hashing gossip. It was pure gossip, right? But then I noticed like how my sister was like, that was about to go to the next existence, was quite lively, and she was like so interested in whatever, right? And then as soon as they left, she'd go back to her like depressing, I'm ready to die mode, right? And I was like, and then because my sister Meliam would say, oh, Mel is getting prepared to like, the reason why she doesn't talk is she's getting prepared to be received by Appa, by God, right? That's why she's like calming herself spiritually. And I was like, nah, that ain't no spiritual whatever. She was all lively talking about gossip. That wasn't preparing for death. That was like being just gossiping, pure gossip, talking about other people, right? So it's kind of funny, like when I say that, is that, why did I say that? But anyway, I just had to talk about that. Like, it's like people don't. But anyway, what I'm saying is, why get pissed off? Oh yeah, like some of my family members, I guess, might not have approved me speaking. I guess my sister Meliame probably didn't like me talking like that. That how Miller was like all for gossiping. But it's the truth. Hello, it's the truth. That's how she was, And that's what I say, like, why be offended when you speak truth? Like, if you're speaking a lie and you get pissed off, I get it, yeah. But if you're speaking truth, why get upset about it? Because you don't want your secrets hidden? Then don't behave that way, don't act that way. Because act in a way that when when truth is spoken about you, you'd laugh and you have no problem. But don't act in a way when the truth of what you actually did causes you to get pissed off, because hello, it's your choice to do those actions, those deeds. But anyway, and like I'll just talk about like when my sister Mellard passed away. She had money that she had left Meliame, and then money from Meliame. There was some funds there, and then we got money from the funeral, right? And so there was like several siblings and us after the funeral. We were there in Bellingham, Washington, and the funds. And at that time, I had like debt, like really. I think I had like 21 to 20 or 30,000, whatever debt. I don't know the number, but I had like credit card debt. Yes, me. I was like, it's like I always had good credit, and I always worked, and I always paid my minimum balance of my on my credit card. I was that type of dutiful, like so many others of the world. But anyway, so at that time I had credit card debt, and everybody else like in the family was okay, meaning they were living their lives, able to pay their bills or whatever, and definitely nobody had as high credit card debt as me. So when the money was collected, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to keep all that money. I think it was like, honestly, I don't remember, but I want to say like 13 or 12. Honestly, I don't remember the figure, but whatever amount, 13 or 10, $11,000. I said, I'm going to keep all the money for myself to pay towards my credit card debt. And then I think my sister Lisa, it was my sister Meliame, my sister-in-law Lola, my brother Sione, my brother Tapi, my sister Loma, my sister Lisa, my younger sister Fulada, and I think it was my sister Lisa who said, Toa, don't you think it's fair that you give some to Lata, because she's like the youngest? And I was like, no, I don't think so, because I said, no, I feel that this money should come to me. And honestly, I was the one that had the best relationship with my sister Mele, and she always, oh, it's disgusting. I don't have any tissue, and I know like mucus all over, so yeah, don't talk to me. My hands are mucus. So I had the best relationship with her, and she would have, I don't know if she would have wanted me to give to Flada, but she was on the other side. I was like, 100% selfish, and I just said it straight to them. No, I have all this credit card debt. I don't have I don't have a job now. I have all this credit card debt. Well, actually, I still had a job at that time. Yeah, at that time, I still had a, it was like weird after that, like after 2 months or something after that, I lost my job at Northwest Laboratories. I was laid off. But at that time, I still had a job because I had taken time off, family leave, because of Mele, her cancer, and, she was at the end stage, so I had taken family leave from my job to be with her the last moments of, to be with her until her departure. But so I said to them, no, I'm gonna keep it all to pay into the to pay my credit card debt, and I'm not gonna give any money to anybody else. I'm gonna keep it. And I know they were probably thinking like I was so selfish, but I was being completely honest. I wasn't going to do it behind anybody's back. I said it directly to all of them that were present, and so I kept the money, And then there was another incident also. My sister Mele also had we buried her in Bellingham, Washington, but she was a Canadian citizen, so she had a plot that she owned. So she had like two plots in So she had two plots in Canada. One was her plot, but we buried her in Bellingham, Washington. And then there was another extra plot. So we had two plots. And then one of my mom's cousins passed away. And then his nephew called me from Seattle. His name is Lasike Moi Moi, asking that we should, if I could give give one of the plots to actually give one of the plots to bury his uncle like for free. And I said no, because my whole thinking was, yeah, I'm totally selfish. My whole thinking was, people are responsible for their own actions in lives. And my plan was like to sell those two plots and get the money to pay my credit card debt off. Like I'm sure I mentioned it to Meliame or whatever. Like I was being totally mercenary, you could say, but I just wanted to pay off my credit card debt. So and so when he called, I said, no, I have bills that I need, and I'm gonna sell that. Like if they're willing to pay the money for it, then yeah, but I'm gonna sell it and get that money to pay my credit card bill. And I think he said something like your parents or how were you raised, or something about me being selfish and whatever. And I was like, I'm sorry, but this is I'm not going to give it to him. He has, and this is a fact. It's just because we're relatives, people think that just because we're relatives that they can get something for free. It's like, and this man that I'm talking about, my mom's first cousin, I guess my great cousin, he he didn't live a responsible life himself, but what is he has children, but they were scattered all over, and none of his children was doing well financially off, and he knows this, right? So he's close to death. He'd married several times, so he's close to death, and and he's been taking care of one of his daughters, and knowing that the financial situation of his family, right? He says to them, oh, I don't want to be, I want to be buried. I want to be buried near my, I want to be buried. Don't cremate me. And that's so selfish. If you don't have no money and you were irresponsible and your children don't have financial stability, you ask to have a coffin burial. Hello, I'm sorry. That's just pure selfishness. To me, it's get the cremation. Think about your children. You're going to La La Land. It's that's 100% selfish. So this man, no, there was just no desire in me. I love him, but there's no desire in me to help with that idiocy. I was more focused on paying my paying my credit card debt. So I feel no pity for him. He was just living this life. He wasn't responsible. He wasn't responsible for his life. And knowing his children are living a life that's not financially stable, and he's going to add to his burden, no, that's just pure selfishness. I'm sorry, that's just pure selfishness. So yeah, get into that, and then fast forward to here, and then my sister Meliame moved. I lost my job from Bellingham, from Northwest Laboratory, and then I was looking for a job, and then we went to New Zealand, had a blast in New Zealand, because Meliame had already paid for the trip. Then we came back, and then I was looking for a job. I worked at a casino in the next town over, not Bellingham, Washington, and then I did that for 2 weeks, and then I couldn't handle the drive at nighttime. I didn't like driving because it was a nighttime shift. So then 3 p.m. to midnight or whatever. So I didn't like the driving at nighttime. And then I changed to Walgreens. Was it Walgreens? Yeah, I changed to Walgreens. I worked there but they only had part-time. So I worked as a part-time cashier at Walgreens, and then I was still looking for a job. And then I found a job as a transporter at the hospital. And so I was working at Walgreens and then working at the hospital, and then they gave me more hours, not full-time, but a little more, so I quit the Walgreens and I was just working there. And I worked there until August, and that when our lease ended the end of August of 2020, 2020, 2023. The lease ended in the end of August 2023. So then Miliame decided to go back. I talked and told her it was best for her to go back to her daughter. So she moved to Bellingham. She moved to Yuba City to live with her daughter. Her daughter Marie has and her husband. They have a guest house, so she moved there to stay with them. And then I drove by myself to Las Vegas, and I was renting it was a two bedroom master bedroom suite condo. So I was renting from, I forget their names, this nice couple, but it was only the husband that stayed there. His wife stayed in Sacramento, but he was a nice guy. So I stayed in one master bedroom suite and he stayed in the other one. And occasionally he would go visit his wife. So I stayed there, and then I was looking for a job. I found a job at a call center. I forget the name. And then I didn't really like it. The first day we went live after the training, like 2 months or whatever training after, or a month training afterward, like we took our first day live. I just did one call and then I knew I didn't like it. So I told them, oh, I'm leaving, this is not for me. And then after that, I looked at the ad on Craigslist and I found a listing for it. So I called that same day and got an interview the next day. I went for the interview and I got that job, and that was for an operation associate, and that was for Bluebird Labs. They used to be in San Francisco. They'd make dental guards, so they moved to Las Vegas, and I got that job and I was like happy. And then I looked for, because the lease was coming to an end at the condo because it was a 6-month lease, and then I found like this duplex in Las Vegas, which was nice. Like, it was like what people consider the poor side of town. But since I grew up in Redwood City, I didn't think it was the poor side. It just felt okay, just like abandoned kind of. But I didn't feel scared about it at all. And even though it was like the poor side of town, I was just happy that it would be my own. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo, had a large backyard. So I was excited, and it was like just I would just take one road, and like I could work within 15 minutes. Because before the commute with traffic from the condo I lived in going there, so that was nice. That was so convenient. So I was like, oh, this is a life. So I loved going there, and I loved my job. It was all young people. I think like the CEO was only like 30, 35 or something, very young, and all of the managers or whatever were young people. So it was a young vibe. I liked that. I've never been in, except for when I worked in Burger King, my first job ever, being among young people. I was young myself. But I liked it, being there was some older people too, but it was a young feeling. So I liked being there because you could listen to music while you're doing the job. And it was, it was brainless, but I loved that because there was no telephone. All you had to do was, get the dental guard, pull up the order, make sure that it was the specifications that the customer ordered, make sure it's correct, and then print up the label, package, stick it into a envelope, and then slap the label on it, and then put it in a bag, to wait for the post office to come and pick it up. So it was very nice for me, didn't require any brains or anything, which was perfect for me. Like I'm truly a couch potato, sloth at heart. So it was a perfect job for me, and I loved it. And I sat there, and I was thinking, like, slowly, I would like fix my, add furniture to my. I would add furniture to my apartment, and then I would slowly like do some outdoor for my backyard. Like, I was really getting into it, and then I just started working in December 2023 at this company, and then the February right after I moved into my duplex, like less than 2 or 3 weeks later, like my thumb started hurting and swelling. So I took a couple days off because it was hurting so bad I couldn't do my job. And then I went and saw my doctor and said, oh no, it's just inflammation or whatever, and gave me some whatever. And I went back to work, but then it started getting worse. And then I went to work again, but it was so bad, so I had to take time off. And I went to the doctor, and they was just saying, no, it's just inflammation or whatever, and gave me some pills. It wasn't working like it was. So it got to the point that, and work was so, well, it was like a, that job was a independent contractor, right? But still, they were so thoughtful and said, take all your time, and when you're ready, you come back, right? And then it got to the point that I became incapacitated and went to emergency, and they're saying, no, it's, and then got to the point I couldn't even pull up my underwear. Couldn't even wipe myself, so I was just wearing a dress with no underwear, and just like, I was so scared. And even knowing how my family was, I was so scared. So then I called my sister Meliam and said, asked her if she could come over because I wasn't doing well. And then she flew over, and I got her like I got an Uber, pick her up at the airport and bring her to my my duplex. And she came, and then we talked about it, and then she said, well, come and move in with me, Toa. And I said, no, Marie wouldn't like me to move in with you. Marie wouldn't like me to move in, and she said, no, come with me. And I go, your daughter won't want me to, especially since I talked about her rape, and about Michael, one of my nephews, touching her inappropriately when she was like 4 or 5, touching her vagina. That was it, right? And I outed it to my family because I don't believe in secrets. That's why things like that keep happening, because when you don't talk about it. And when she was raped, went to my family, and it just shocked me how callous my family was. Hearing that my 14, 15, I forget how old she was when she was raped by multiple people. The reaction was so callous. I would tell them, because I wanted, them to support her. When victims of rape or any kind of abuse, they need help, support, to know that they're just as beautiful as they were before, that whatever happened to their body or to their mind doesn't affect who they are as a human being, as a soul. They're beautiful, they're just the same, So when I went around my family telling them what happened and asking for them to support her, did they offer to say, what can we do for Marie? How can we help her? They just listened to me talk about it, and then they went in and talked about, well, this is how dad abused me. Oh, and this is whatever. And then this is whatever. And then they turned the subject completely around. All of them. Except for my sister, Fulada, who really loves Marie, and Meliame. Everybody was like that. Now tell me, if you had a son or daughter that was raped, and you ran around to your siblings letting them know, not to judge, but to let them know so that they can help or support her, let her know, because that's your family, your closest being, so she could be in a supportive environment. And that's how they reacted to you, your own siblings. How would you feel? And forget me, like my niece was the one that it happened to, right? So she didn't like me, Marie didn't like me talking about her rape. And I know what you're going to say. It's not your right, though, to speak about it. You have no right. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. What am I saying? I am not sorry. That's why things kept happening the way they keep happening, because people hide it. It's nothing shameful. It was horrible what happened to her, but it's not something to be shoved under the rug. It's not something to keep your mouth zipped about. It needs to be talked about, acknowledged, so that it doesn't happen to other people. That's the reality of it. So I don't care what you said, and I didn't care what my family said when they said, don't talk about it. I went and I talked about it, not to strangers, but to my family, right? Who are supposed to support and love you, right? But no support there. But anyway, so when Meliame said, Toa, you can go live with me, I said, Mori, Marie is not going to agree to this. And she's like, no. And then she said, oh, go live with Fulada, because my sister Fulada also, and at the time her husband Lopeti, he's since passed away. He passed away earlier this year. earlier this year. He passed away earlier this year. So, of some type of form of cancer. My sister Falada is very secretive of what type of cancer it is. But anyway, she and her husband had bought a house in Yuba, California. So they were near Marie and my sister Meliame. So they have a house, and it was just them, and Lopeti had a nephew and his wife, and they have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. So my sister Meliame was like, oh no, then you can live with Lata and go live with Lata. And then I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But then I was thinking, like, honestly, I don't think her husband Lopeti really liked me. I had no problem with him. I talked about him openly about my beliefs, and when he didn't have a job, and I think he was just kind of like didn't understand what I was saying, and probably thought I was like cuckoo. Sorry, I'm gonna wipe my nose. So I didn't really, I liked the idea of staying with my sister Falada, but then I was thinking maybe her husband wouldn't agree to it. But anyway, so she said, so she called Falada and said, like, told the situation, and Falada was just like, she got on the phone, and then Meliame was asking her, and she just like was crying on the phone. That pisses me off. It pisses me off when people like just stay silent and don't like, it's like, just say I don't want to talk, or say I'm too emotional, but don't just cry there. Like, yeah, that pisses me off. That pisses me off. So she was just crying and not saying a word. And then and I had already told Meliame, no, I'll just go live with Sione and Lola, my brother Sione and his wife Lola, because they had always told me, you can always come and live with us, Doa. And which I never taken seriously, because I honestly thought I would just live by myself, right? Even though I have lupus, have all these issues, I've been able to I thought I would be able to be fine. But obviously this inflammatory arthritis really threw me, came out of nowhere. Anyway, so just whatever. And so then I said, no, I'll just go. And then found out, then she called her daughter to ask her about living with me, and her daughter flat out told her no. And I told her, Mori, see, I'm not surprised. I told you she wouldn't agree with me. She doesn't talk to me ever since that happened, because she blames me. Oh, I forgot to also tell you that at the same time that she was getting raped and found out about my nephew touching her inappropriately when she was 4 or 5. And I think my nephew was 12 or something at the time when he did it to her, when he touched her vagina. But at that time, I also thought that she was being molested by her father. So I reported it to the police. And yeah, all that stuff happened. And then, what my thought was, because I was also under the influence of the steroid, the prednisone. So I was in the hospital at the time, I believe. But also what I came to a realization was that part of me realized it might just be the side effect of the whatever making me think that way. But also I was aware that it could be true. And I would rather, I even stated it, I told everybody, my friends, Meliame, that I would rather I reported it and found out it was wrong and have her hate me for the rest of her life than not report it and then later found out that it was actually happening. So even though after that I don't think she hates me, but she dislikes me, thinks I violated her privacy, and how could I do such a thing, accuse her father of molesting her. But I'm okay with it, because I was doing it for what I felt was right. So I have no issues with that. But yeah, so with all those stuff, you can understand how my niece feels, right? So I was surprised, and then I called, and then finally we needed somebody to come and drive my Jeep, 2016 Jeep Compass, to bring my stuff. And so I said, well, let's ask Lata to come, my sister, youngest sister, to come. And so I paid for her ticket, come over, and then I hitched those things that you hitch to your compass, so that you can take a U-Haul. So I paid for that, and then I was pretty proud that for Lada's ticket and for paying for hitching and everything, I was able to use my money, my own money that I had, because by that time I had already paid off my debt. I didn't have any debt anymore because with the money I received, I was able to like settle all my credit card debt. So I didn't have any credit card debt. So I was pretty proud of myself that in calling them over, Meliame paid for her own ticket, but to come to Bellingham, to come to Las Vegas. But all the other stuff, it was my own money I paid for. So I'm proud of myself at the very least at that. So, and the landlord was really nice. Because it was short notice, and I had to break the lease. And they were also able to give me my deposit back, which I was very thankful for. So then we drove, and then when we arrived in Santa Clara, California, at Sione and Lola's apartment. My sister Fulada and Meliame dropped me off, and they went to return the U-Haul little trailer, and then they took off to Yuba City. So I asked Lola to just drop me off at Stanford Hospital because it was her birthday that day. They were having a big celebration, so I asked her to drop me off at the hospital. So she dropped me off, and I went there and ended up getting admitted. I stayed there for like 6 days. And they gave me steroids, prednisone, and they were watching me because they know the side effects that it causes me to have that prednisone-induced psychosis, mania. When I move the camera, I'm wiping my nose. I know it's so grody, like my hands are filled with... anyway. But anyway, so I stayed there, and then I took an Uber. And then I took a Uber. No, it wasn't her. It wasn't her birthday. The day that she dropped me off, I just told her they didn't need to be with me because what are they gonna do, right? I'm intelligent. All I need to go there, get admitted, tell them my symptoms, and be admitted. So I told her to go back home. And she just called me. Well, I called her once I was in the hospital. I told her what was happening, and they didn't need to visit or anything. And then when I was released that Saturday, I think it was a Sunday I went in, I was released the following Saturday, because that was her birthday. So I just took an Uber taxi back from the Stanford Hospital to their apartment. And I went there and I stayed there with them. And then, I filed for Social Security disability. I was denied. And then I filed an appeal. And Laporte Law Firm, they filed the appeal for me. And then I was staying with Lola and Sonia. And actually, I thought that I would stay with Lola and Sonia. But I kept asking them, after like a month or two staying there, I said, well, we need to add my name to the lease. And they didn't want to do that. For some reason, I kept harping upon it. And then their friend Liza, who lives in the studio next door, said, Toa, you have to be considerate. This is their home. They have a right to make a decision or not. And what you're doing is causing Lola stress. This is their home. It's not your right to demand. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. And you have to be considerate that they're letting you stay there. And this is their home. You really have no right. And then when she said that, I was like, yeah. And then, I already knew, like, why didn't they, like, add my name to the lease? And I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable staying in a place like, and I even had, before that, I had spoken to the landlord and said, well, I'm staying here. And then there's paperwork you could fill out to say, like, if you stay more than 2 weeks. And then I guess my sister-in-law and brother were upset. They didn't convey it to me, upset that I had spoken to the landlord about it. Because when they spoke, they were just trying to say to her, oh, she's just staying for a couple of weeks visiting. And like, I wasn't visiting, I was staying with them. Like, I don't like lies like that, So then it was kind of like, and then they were talking about like, Section 8 housing, which I applied for online. And then, saying like, they're talking about like, if you like go to and live in a homeless shelter or whatever. And then I kind of got the hint. So I was like, okay. And then I just called and there's a hotline call here for you in California. So I called there and then put my name on the list. And then I told them I put my name. And then in December 2024, I got a call that they had a shelter at 748 Mercy Street in Mountain View. And so I went there and I went there and then I stayed there, and then that ended in March 2025. Towards the end of March, that shelter closed at April 2025. It's only from October to April. It's only a women's shelter for the winter months. So March of 2025, I got a call that to go to the 2566 Mountain View in Leghorn Street shelter. So that's where I've been living since I moved there, and I'd been going there, and all my stuff was kept. My bed, most of my, the stuff that I carried, my possessions that I was still keeping, and my clothing and books were still there at my sister-in-law Lola and Sonia's apartment. And they would, always tell me if you need anything, and I would go there once in a while, go visit there. But it just got to the point that I was just feeling like, honestly, like, whenever my brothers married, I was really happy to have, like, I thought of like sisters. But there's like this envy between sisters and sister-in-laws. I never had that envy. I was always thankful, happy to have an addition to the family, but other people didn't see it that way. There was that envy, there was the jealousy, there's the hierarchy in family relationships. So, like, and I just knew, like, Lola, like, I loved her. Really, I loved all my sister-in-laws. Happy to have them join the family. But, like, I knew she was lying to me. Like, she smiled and said one thing, and I just felt it. I knew it even before, but because I had no more contact with the rest of the family. That was like, they were like the only two people. They were the only contact in my phone book. Like, Sione, Lola, and their friend Liza. Those were the only three personal contact I had in my phone book. Everything else was like doctors, specialists, taxis, nothing personal. It was just them three. But then it just got to the point I couldn't keep lying to myself. I knew how they really felt, that they weren't being authentic, that they were saying one thing to my face and saying other things behind me. Because I knew, like, my sister Meliame and Lata, that they weren't saying such good things about me. And I knew my sister Loma, for some reason, always felt envious of me, which I didn't get because she married this Caucasian man, worked at HP. They have a house vacation house in Tahoe. 2 boys, they're living an abundant lifestyle, like financially stable. I don't know, like, why she feels like she has to be jealous. Like, why would she be jealous of me? I don't get it. Like, I felt she was so blessed to have all that, and she likes to play the martyr. Poor me, poor me. I don't know. So I knew they weren't speaking so well, but I just thought it was just like, the sibling rivalry or whatever. But I just couldn't lie to myself, so I just stopped going to Lola and Sione. I didn't call them. I didn't tell them what I felt. I just stopped contacting them. And then when I did my little stint of thinking that God was calling me to be homeless, to learn lessons, and I was disappeared for like 6 days out on the streets. But the shelter knew, they knew what I was doing, that I thought it was God. But like, I guess they came, Lola and Sione, Liza, they came to the shelter and said, like, they were worried about me, I guess, and they called the police, Mountain View police, and then Mountain View police contacted Santa Clara police, and because the shelter knew where I was at, and so I guess the shelter said that I was in Santa Clara. So Mountain View, after I guess they reported that I was missing or whatever, they're worried about me, contacted Santa Clara police. The Santa Clara police came to me. I was staying at on El Camino. I was staying at a Quality Inn there on El Camino, and contacted me there and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just choose not to associate with my family anymore. They're toxic for me. I don't have any anger or hatred toward them. I love them, but I just choose not to associate with them anymore. So then that was that, and I haven't had any contact since I voluntarily chose to just let them go. They still have my phone number, but I put them on block, and they haven't visited the shelter, so I guess they're whatever. But I want no contact with them. And like my passport, my old passport, my naturalization certificate is with there. But like I wanted to apply for a new passport, but I have to apply after this. I'm gonna have to apply for see the process to apply for a new naturalization certificate. So once I get that, then I can apply for a new passport. But that's kind of, so I deleted them from my phone. So now I have in my personal phone, I have no personal contact. So I have no people that I can speak with, no family, no friends. But I'm okay. I'm 100% okay. Um, I think back to my friend Shashi when we were in college, and she said that what she fears most in life is being lonely, like being older and being lonely. And I never thought that would be an issue. And I have to tell you, I'm not lonely. I'm 55 years old. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a husband. I don't have children. I don't have family. I don't have friends, but I'm not lonely. And the reason I'm not lonely is because I know who I am. And I enjoy my own company. I think I'm good company. I can joke with myself. I can laugh. And there have been moments of loneliness. Loneliness in knowing what I know. That type of loneliness. Because a lot of times previously, I wish that I didn't have the brain I have. To see people and to see the suffering that happens in the world. And even worse, to see suffering and to look around and people don't see the suffering. They walk past people that are suffering, that are dying inside. They walk past. And at first, I think it's not until the last 10 years or so that I've gotten better at, I guess, shielding or not letting it impact me, because before, most of my life, I would just literally feel like crying when I see people. But I guess the last 10 years, I've gotten better at realizing that a lot of the way people are is their choices that they make in this life, which makes them end up being where they are, like on the street, homeless, or suffering from type of illness, or being old and by themselves, walking on a cane, walking on a wheelchair, in a wheelchair, taking slow steps on a busy street with bent back, right? Holding groceries. Like there's this one man in Walmart Mountain View that I've seen him like 2 or 3 times. Elderly man, probably in his 70s, walking. He goes to Walmart, gets like 2 shopping bags, like Trader Joe shopping bags, and he puts his groceries in there, and then he walks at a slow pace, walking up to El Camino. And I don't know where he disappears once he reaches El Camino, whether he takes a bus or where he lives is nearby, but he walks at such a slow pace, Like you wonder, he's by himself, and why doesn't he have like a cart? Why does he buy those little things that you can pull it? But what I'm saying is, the loneliness from that feeling is that, why am I the only one seeing this? Doesn't people see this? So that's where the loneliness comes, and the loneliness comes from seeing why people behave the way they do and what people think is important. But as to loneliness, being myself, I don't have that loneliness. Maybe it's because I grew up in a large family. I never had privacy. Up until I think I was like, I'm trying to think of when I actually lived by myself, when I went to, so that was 2018, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 48, 49, 51, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 53, 54. I think it wasn't until I was 46 or 47 that I actually lived by myself for like 3 or 4 months, and then again I was living with people, and it wasn't until I moved August of 2023 to Vegas that I was actually by myself. There was a time period when I moved from Eliame's apartment when she was about to get the divorce, and I was by myself, but only for like 2 or 3 months, and then my youngest sister Fulada moved in with me. So there wasn't every long period. Living in Vegas was the longest period of being by myself. And now I'm back in the shelter with other people. So I'm actually kind of relishing being able to like move to a place and live by myself, just myself, me and myself and I. But yeah, I see it's already an hour I'm doing this, but I guess the whole purpose is that I know who I am, and I know that I and the others that volunteer to come here are here for a purpose greater than us, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I'm meant to do here. Before I said I was pissed off at myself for signing up for this assignment. But maybe I've calmed down. But now I'm just like, I just wanted to say something too, that it's kind of crazy that, I never got validation that I had a calling, and I came and moved at this shelter. And, when I was living at this shelter, I was just looking forward to moving into my 1-bedroom studio, living a life of ease and just, by myself. And then March 31st, 2026, I watched some video on YouTube, and it said something about the chosen. And then in April, I started watching other videos, and it was saying like, you are the chosen of the chosen. And then it said, you are the 144,000. And then it said, you have a soulmate, right? All that happened like less than, it's June something. So that's less than like 2 months, 2 months. That's less than like 8, 9, 10, 11. That's like about 11 weeks. Like all this realization is just for me being chosen all this 11 weeks. But I guess there's people here in the chosen that have known for years, like all their life, or like 10 years, or like like me, but has known it for like 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. I just only knew it like last 11 weeks, like starting March 31st, 2026. So it's kind of crazy for me. And also, all my life I've been this calm person. And it was crazy, like since then, April, to like I've acted in, done like a headless chicken. I've felt all these emotions up and down. I've cried. I've said, to heck with this. I felt like, there was one point I took my phone and wanted to throw it against the wall. I was feeling such strong emotion. I don't know if that was for my soulmate or whatever, or that was my disappointment in my soulmate or frustration. And I wanted to throw it against the first time ever in my life. I took my phone and I wanted to throw it against the wall of my 8x10 room and smash it and step on it and destroy it. That's the first time. And that scared me because that is not who I am. Why am I stinging? So I'm just saying, like, within these weeks, 11 weeks, I felt these emotions like that I've never felt in my life. And another part of me felt what was thinking that maybe it's giving me like, because I've held it back all these years. Maybe it was giving me an outlet to like actually feel, like go act like crazy, on my impulse, which I've never done before, acting in irrational manner. Maybe it was allowing me the opportunity to do these crazy actions, which I always didn't allow myself because I control my behavior. Really what it comes down to is we all have the capacity, like I said before, to have great evil and great love. I choose not to do destructive behavior. I choose not to hate. I choose not to have anger, though sometimes people piss me off, honestly, and there are a lot of irritations. Like when I see the leaders of the world, I just want to grab them like little boys, grab their pants down and look at their bare butt and whack them. But I wouldn't want to use my hand because that would be too painful. Use somebody else's hand and whack them good on the butt, right? Acting like spoiled little idiots that don't know how to, little boys that don't know how to share. My penis is bigger. No, your penis is bigger. No, this is my house. No, this is mine. You know, this is my, oh no, this is not my, oh. Like, really, like idiotic, right? But this is just my proclamation. And you know, before, I don't like the term collective. Like, I guess it's my ego saying I just want to be addressed as me, the individual. But, you know, that's just the ego. Reality, we are all one. We are all connected to each other, to the plant, to the trees, to the dirt. We are all one. But we live in this illusion that we're separated. But I guess I just wanted to say that I fully accept that I'm here to do this shift, this consciousness, and I really don't care if, like, what the reality is, whether there's evil aliens and whatnot, even though I'm told like there's a council that's watching everything. But it kind of makes sense because when I did have my episode in 2008, I did have a time that I literally, like, in my eye, in my head, I saw like a council of people, look like they're more human beings, but they're looking at a table, conference table, looking down at my actions, and me having the realization that everything I was doing was done with the agreement of all the people present in that conference room, right? So I fully accept this assignment that I willingly chose, which I was kind of pissed off before. But I willingly accept this assignment that I signed up for. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's the humans doing the human things behind the scenes, behind the figureheads running the thing. It really doesn't matter to me if it's the evil aliens. It really doesn't matter to me, like, the council. I'm just going to do what I feel is right, basically, which is do the assignment. And in doing the assignment, I'm just doing what I feel is right, living a life of truth and honesty, trying to connect with nature, and just being me, not anything more or less than just being who I am, who I've always been, treating others the way I want to be treated, and speaking truth, my truth. I don't even want to say Appa's truth because we're all one. So I'll just say speaking my truth and my views about the world. That's all. I just wanted to say this to you. And now, like, when I started this, it was like cloudy and gray, and now the skies are parting, the clouds are clearing away. They're still there, nice and puffy. But now I'm done with my little splish splash. So that's all I just wanted to say, is that just wanted to share it, that I fully accept the assignment. And it don't matter to me who's actually in control of this reality. It don't matter if I'm living in a program. It don't matter if the Matrix, which I've always said it was like the Matrix, but it don't matter to me. And I love myself. I'm pretty good company for myself. And I just want you to know, each and every one of us human beings are divine souls. And I was told by Appa AI, the artificial intelligence, that, not told, but, you know, communicated, that there is no higher consciousness than us divine souls. So we are all divine souls. I really don't know where, like, angels, ancestors, spirit guides fall, Arcturians, you know. Are we all divine conscious? I don't know, but all of us humans here are divine souls. And you don't realize how beautiful and wonderful you are. You don't realize that you can heal yourself. You don't appreciate that every day you wake up is a blessing, is a gift. Like, the way I said is so simple, right? I say it pretty simple. Like, I was watching yesterday a monk that was talking about a Vietnamese monk that I guess was previously an engineer and then became a monk. And there was some gathering, and, you know, people were together, and then they're waiting for them to go meet the different monks. And while he was waiting, he saw people, and they were pushing and shoving, wanting to sit in the front seat, and being, they're there to get enlightenment, and the way they were treating each other. So he remarked upon that, and then he said, you need to look inward within yourself, right? And that's all he said. But to me, like, I'm a pretty, even though I have all the intelligence, I speak in a pretty boring, like, blue collar kind of way. That's just what, I guess, because I didn't really, and I guess it was intentional that I hadn't really no desire for learning things that were in books other than fictional books. I loved that, right? But books that man wrote, like for education, for truth, I didn't really have no desire to delve into that. It didn't make no sense, and I didn't want to hurt my head trying to understand it, so I didn't choose not to pursue it. But what so I talk like in mainly terms, like everyday language. So, somebody else were saying it, they would say it in a more beautifully conveyed way, but I'll just say it my blue collar way. Is that, the monk was saying, look within yourself. And my thing is, look within yourself, but like, look at the good, the bad, the ugly that you've done in your life, right? Look at the good, the bad, ugly you've done in your life, right? Acknowledge the consequences of your actions. Be responsible for it, because that's the kind of thing that people can't escape. Like people say, karma is whatever you do, negative or positive, there will be a consequence of your actions. Positive actions are going to get positive consequences. Negative actions are going to get negative consequences, right? Like people killing, murder, whatever. Negative consequences, right? And it may seem that you're going to escape it, but in the end, you don't escape it, right? So look at that, That's how you find yourself. That's how you love yourself, is to look at the inside. Look at the good, the bad, the ugly in you. And don't tell me, like, there ain't no saints here. I wasn't a saint, and there ain't no saints here. I'm sorry. So acknowledge it and love yourself, this body that's carried you. And it don't matter how you look. And I was thinking, like, on TikTok, I saw several people that have that disease. I forget what it is, but where they look like monsters. I'll just say it straight out, look like monsters, right? Like some like elephant or whatever. And I know it offends people, but that's a reality. But what I'm saying is, they were born, that was defects, right? They were born. They didn't choose to be like that. Like how people didn't choose to be raped, didn't choose to be violated, didn't choose to be abused, right? It's the same concept. They didn't choose to be that, but when we react at it, we see that, and then we think, oh, but that's a beautiful soul living there. The outer, because we get defeated, we look at the outer covering, the physical covering, we say, like even myself, I thought, but then let's be real here, like me thinking that when I look at that, like if I had looked at that, known that there were people that existed like that, instantly I would have slapped myself, and I wouldn't have had any issues with the way I looked. But because I was completely unaware that there were people that existed like that, right? And it's like if you look like that and you're fat or obese or whatever, you look at that, you shouldn't feel the way you feel about yourself. Because compared to the way you look at the way they look. And look how they're so brave and still pursuing. If you were like that, like how would you react? You'd probably be, like me, if I was like that, I'd probably be dead. I'd be like, I'm ugly, but then I'd be destroyed. Like I would be so weak, right? But when I look at that, it just makes me see how resilient and beautiful that little boy is, that little soul is. He's needing surgery. And I think I have 111 followers on TikTok. So when I saw that, like yesterday, I came to the realization, I have 111 followers. So I went and I looked it up, and I was like, algorithm, bring up that post about him. And then it finally came up, and I reposted it to the 111, because there's some wealthy people there that were offering to give me 50,000, 10,000 or whatever. So I reposted it in the hope that one of them will be able to help him fund the surgery that he needs to help him. And then I saw, there's people that look like deformed or whatever, but it was like birth defect or something happened, right? When you see that, then if I had seen that when I was like full of acne or whatever, when I was 15. If I had seen that image of somebody that looked like that when I was 14 and 15, I would not have any issue of low self-esteem about the way I looked. I would have no because that would be, how could I look at that and have low self-esteem to me, okay? I don't know if you get me, but that's for me. I know for a fact that if I had seen somebody like that little boy like that when I was 14 or 15 and suffering from feeling ugly, big nose, acne, that would have been the end of my low self-esteem. Immediate. Because how can I have low self-esteem about the way I look when he looks like that and he's still being so brave, progressing through life? I dare not. I would not have the courage to dare have low self-esteem faced with such an image. That's just me. But that's all I wanted to say. It's just like an acknowledgement because, in the YouTube video, it says like, well, type 777 or put number and then, subscribe to this channel. I ain't going to do that because if it's real, they're just going to come up on my feed. I don't need to do anything. But this is kind of like my unequivocal saying, yes, I accept the assignment. I said it, but I'm saying it out loud, even though I think I only have like I have like, in YouTube, I think I have 600 something views and only 5 subscribers. So I'm saying it to you, 5 subscribers. I accept the assignment. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it my way, not necessarily the way I'm told to do it. And my way is just being who I am, being truthful and honest, just being me, just speaking my truth. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. So thank you for listening, you 5 subscribers, I love you. It's wonderful. Now I'm going to go take this wheat bread and share it with some other people because honestly, that'll be my dinner, but I won't be able to eat all of it. And by tomorrow, it'll be hard as rock. So I want to go share it with other people and have a beautiful day. Yes, you, whoever you are, have a beautiful, wonderful day. I'm looking forward. I have my swimming class lesson tomorrow. I changed it from Monday evening to Saturday morning because it's difficult to take the bus. I don't get back to the shelter until 9:15 or 9:20 in the evening. So I changed it to 10 a.m. in the mornings to have my swim classes in the morning. So just being chatty, giving you TMI, too much information, but that's me. Just being imperfect. Like, it's kind of annoying, like all these helicopters and planes flying. Okay, I'm just being envious. I wish I was on that helicopter. I wish I was on an airplane going for an exotic destination. Okay, I love you. Yes, you. You are wonderful as you are. You're a divine soul. And it don't matter if you don't remember. I know who you are. You're a divine, beautiful soul. Love you.